Hello, it's Mr. Stokes, and today we're talking about companies. So the first question is, what is the difference between a business, a sole trade and a partnership, and a company, which we're going to learn today? And the answer is there in that green box. Shares. So what is a share? Well, on the left you have a business, and in the middle we have you. And what happens is, you pay the business some money, and then you own a tiny little bit of that business. You become an owner of the business, which is called a shareholder. So you hold a share in that business. So you become an owner. So what do you get for those two things? You get a say in that business, so you get to decide what happens to it, so you get a vote every year. And you also get a dividend. Now what's a dividend? A dividend is you get a share of the profit each year. So a business at the end of each year makes profit, and it has two things to decide. Number one, does it put the money back into the business? Or number two, does it pay its shareholders? And so that's called a dividend. So just to recap, when you get a share, you pay a company money for a share, and you get a tiny little bit of that business. Or you could get a massive bit, depends how many shares you buy. If you buy more than 51%, then you are the majority shareholder. You own most of that business. You get two things, a vote and a say in how the company is run, and you also get a dividend. So there's two types of companies, LTD and PLC. We'll come to those in a second. But first, who runs the company? Now in a sole trade and a partnership, the owner runs the company. But in these, the shareholders are the owners, but the board of directors run the company. Now these people are elected and voted by the shareholders, and they normally appoint a chairman and a director to oversee it. And these are the people who run the business, who decide what happens. So let's go back to our LTD on the left, Iceland, and our PLC on the right. Now LTD stands for Private Limited Company, PLC stands for Public Limited Company. Okay, so what's the difference? Oh, first we've got to do the pros and cons that are in common. So they can both sell shares, they both have limited liability, and they can employ specialists. Now, they both have limited liability. Now we learned last week unlimited liability means that if you go into bankrupt, you could lose your personal possessions, your house, your car, in order to pay for the debt. Limited liability is different. It's limited, so you only lose the money you put in. So if you bought £1,000 worth of shares and the company goes bankrupt, you only lose your £1,000. So they can't take your personal possessions away. Can't take it. They could both sell shares as a pro because it's it's not an easy way, but it's a good way to raise lots of money. So if you want to open a new shop or open a shop abroad or buy a load of new equipment, you could sell shares in your company. But don't forget, when you sell shares in your company, you lose a bit of ownership because someone else, when they buy the share, owns a bit. You can employ specialists because they tend to be a lot bigger than sole trades and partnerships. So people with degrees and especially people in marketing and human resources will go to limited companies because they'll pay them more. The cons, because you have sell shares, you lose a bit of your business and you have to pay out dividends. So you have to pay profits each year, so you have to share them. It's expensive to set up, so you have to pay to be a limited company, and accounts aren't private. So if you're a limited company, you have to publish how much money you make each year in a company report or to Companies House. So what's the difference between a private limited company on the left, LTD, and a public limited company on the right? Well, this is the main difference. A private limited company can only sell their shares to family and friends, to people they know. So if you are a private limited company, you could only sell your shares to people you know, your family. This is good because at least you keep your business within people you know. So if you sell a share to someone, at least you know who they are. However, you can't sell them to everybody, so you can't raise loads of money. Now a PLC, on the other hand, Sports Direct over here, they can sell shares to anybody on the stock market. So anyone in the world can buy a share in Sports Direct or a public limited company. So you can sell loads of shares to people around the world and raise lots of money. So let's have a look at this. So the only two words that are different is public and private. They've both got limited companies in it. So What does a company bit mean? It means they can sell shares. What does a limited bit mean? It means limited liability. It means you only lose what you put in if the company goes bankrupt. So the only two words that are different, public and private. The public says how they can sell their shares to the public. The private bit says they can only sell shares to family and friends. So that's how you remember it. Public, private, limited companies. Companies sell shares. Limited means limited liability. The public means they can sell shares to the public. The private means they can sell shares privately. And that's my very quick guide to limited companies.